Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners.
Goldylocks Productions presents the Inspiration from Spirit show with your host, Reverend Lea Chapin. The focus and goal for this show is to assist humanity in the awakening of a new level of consciousness that will bring peace to planet Earth.
Welcome. It's Monday again. It's Inspiration from Spirit. I'm so delighted to be with you. I hope you had a great weekend. I want to thank all those loyal listeners that have been following my show. I'm so grateful for your listening to my show, and for those who are new to the show today, I want to thank you as well for being with us. Today, again, I have Tiffany, who is the the producer of Goldylocks Productions. We had her on last week, Tiffany White Sage Woman. She is a powerful, powerful soul, and that's why I had her back again. So many of you already know her, but for those this is the first time, you will be excited to hear Tiffany's story. So Reverend Tiffany White Sage Woman is a Seraphim Blue Print practitioner, level 4 cosmic heart healer. She's a Reiki master teacher, a divine channel, psychic medium, holistic health care practitioner, and ordained spiritual interdenominational minister. She is the owner of Goldylocks Temple of Healing in Connecticut. Tiffany produces podcasts, radio, TV shows, and events for those in the spiritual, metaphysical, and holistic profession. Her website is www.whitesagewoman.com. Last week, we talked with Tiffany about Atlantis and her views about Atlantis. Today, we want to talk a bit more about Tiffany and her special gifts, because she is a powerful, powerful medium, healer, and intuitive. And we were talking about the mind-body connection. We were talking about how our emotions and our thoughts and our energy field affect our health. And so, Tiffany, thank you for being on the show again, because I wanted to continue this conversation, because it was quite fascinating as you were sharing about how you were a young child and you saw the energy around your mother, I think prior to her sickness, before she had gotten cancer. And so I wanted to really talk with you about how you work. I didn't know if you were a medical intuitive or how you work with that, but I found it very fascinating. So thank you for being on the show. You're such a delight.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And so it's, okay. So medical intuitive is a scientific term, and I kind of stay away from anything, quite honestly, that's scientific and have too many labels. Working with the angels is all very simplistic, fast energy. And so it's just been a part of who I am for such a long time that it wasn't until, going, when you get older and you want to, let me find like-hearted people. And so you go and you try to develop yourself or hang around with other people and find out that maybe your abilities are all different and how you've come into it. And so it's, I find it, you have to allow the energies to come in the way that it will. If you try to force another way, it will hurt you as far as the connection wise, and will block you. So somebody needs to hear this, because it's, whatever you call yourself, a psychic, a medium, we are all ascending at a fast rate, and we actually are tapping into celestial insights now. And they really don't have labels. It's just behind that vibration of love. It's just right there. All right. And so trying to explain things growing up, I mean, my mother didn't understand. She didn't want to hear about the things that I saw, that I could feel, sense, and know. She didn't want to hear about it. And my grandparents on both sides, my mom and my dad's parents, were very supportive. But I watched my mom and my biological dad go through a tremendous divorce, and that's what set her on her spiral down, so to speak, health-wise. And even though, she got remarried and, she had like these happy times, they were dating and they got remarried, it was already inside of her, so to speak. She had already allowed the cancer to be activated in her body, And it took a couple of years. And so by the time I was 10, it was activated. She had been remarried for like a year and a half. And
can I stop you for a second? Can you tell me a little bit about that activation? So that energy already was imprinted within her energy field because of her emotions? Is that what you're...
I was probably like 5 or 6 when I saw this. Because I was in elementary school, so I was going to school. So I was like 5 or 6, and that was around the time that they separated. He left with me, and my brother was a baby, because there's like 4.5 years between my brother and I. Mm-hmm. And so it was her watching her struggle as a single mother, watching her being upset, and I could see the people's energy, and I could see what's in their aura. I can tell when they have things that bother them, so to speak. And it was always on when I was little. And I could see this with a lot of people. I could see it with animals. And but it was something that I learned. I thought everybody was like this.
Could do that, yeah.
Yeah, could do that. And so I was just concerned with, I could see, it's okay, so it's like in the aura, which is these beautiful energy pulsations. If you were to take a line and like outline your body again, outline it again, that's how it looks, the aura, and the vibration pulsates, okay? And you can see color. To me, when I see black spots.
Some people can see color.
Sorry. Yeah. I can see some of the colors. I could see black spots. And if they're outside your luminous energy field or your aura, that's good if it's on the outside. But when you get depressed, when you get so sad, when you get so down and you don't take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul, we create these little openings in our auras, these little gaps, and they come in to our aura. So warning, when I saw something go into her aura that was not hers, I mean, as far as it wasn't for her highest and greatest, I knew that okay, something's up, something's not right. I also noticed that if she laughed, if she felt relaxed, that this black spot became distorted and almost was like fading. Okay, but as soon as she gave it energy again, it held in, it gripped, and it grew. And so I knew it wasn't an entity. It was totally from her and her feeding it, activating it, giving it life. But it really was activated, I should say. Activation is when it comes into your body. So it was being fed on the outside in the aura. And then I watched it go into her body. And then I was just like, okay, and that was about it. Her mother had died at that time, my grandmother, and my grandmother came to me and we're having conversations. And I don't remember all of the conversation, but I know we talked about mom. And so I was just I knew my grandmother crossed over before my mom did. And I woke up in the next morning and I was like, I don't want to go to school today. I need to stay home with you, because I knew she was going to get the call. I want to stay home with you. I want to be here for you. And she's like, go to school. I was like, Grandma came to me in my dream last night and and she's like, no, I'm not hearing this. Go.
And you're still 5 when that's all this happened?
I was like 5 or 6. I was like in kindergarten to first grade, because I remember the bus pulled up. I got on the bus and I was crying. I'm like, I don't want to go to school. Mom's going to find out my grandma died. The bus driver was so shooken. She got off the bus and went to go talk to my mom. But I still had to go to school. And I'm telling you, here I was like 5 or 6. I was probably more like 6 years old. I spent the day in the bathroom. I skipped school. Well, I was in school, but I skipped my classes. I just spent the day in the bathroom, saw what time it was, and then got on the bus and went home. And I went home to my mom being just crazy, and was like, tell me about the dream with my mom, with your grandmother. And I was like, you don't want to hear it, and I was like, she came to me and told me what was happening, that, she wasn't going to wake up from her sleep. And then she was like, stop, that's it. And I was like, okay. So,
oh my goodness. Was that confusing for you to have? I mean,
yeah,
for a little kid, that sounds like a lot.
It was confusing, but I had my grandparents to talk to, and they were very, now, I guess I thought, okay, well, they have the gift. Maybe she just didn't activate it. I mean, activate her gift or her abilities, which we can do too, or allow it. Maybe I should say that to happen. But whatever, my grandparents on both sides were very, very understanding. And so now it's just my grandpa on my mom's side, and my other grandparents. And they were very, very spiritual, even though they were in religious environments, of course. But they allowed me to talk and to be me. They would ask questions. We would have these great conversations, for being so young. It would just blow their minds. Now, my grandfather was also very protective over me, and he stopped letting me he drove me to school, elementary school, junior high. I mean, he wasn't going to let me ride the bus if he didn't have to. And he didn't want me around that. There was this protection. He was very protective. Yeah. So, because he was explaining that the rest of the people just aren't like this, or, and so you have to be careful who you talk to like that. Okay. And and I was
lucky to have him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Him and my dad's parents. But my dad's parents died when I was 12. My mom had remarried. I mean, and there was 4 kids from I call my bonus dad's family. So it was this intermingling. I felt forced energy of everyone put together quickly, and I didn't even know who I was. I was lost and confused with all of it. I started to feel like my identity was slipping, because now, once that my dad's grandparents had died within 2 weeks of each other. My grandfather first had an aneurysm, and I watched my grandmother, we called Nanny. She willed herself to die. She laid in bed for a week, cried and cried and cried. And I knew she was going to pull the plug. Because she's like, I don't want to live without him. They were so close.
So connected.
And so then I was like, just like that, within a month, I lost them both, and it was just, I didn't lose them. They would come to me and they would talk to me, and they provided great comfort for me. And my mom had heard a conversation. She was going by the room, and I was talking to them, and she's like, who are you talking to? And I was like, they're here visiting me and covering me. She's like, you've got to stop this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Don't you see them? No, and she was like, this isn't healthy. I'm going to take you to talk to somebody. I was like, no, you're not.
Oh, no. So you never lost your connection then?
I never lost a connection, but I stopped talking about it because my grandfather, her own dad, said, you need to be quiet. You can't even confront your mom. He was like, that's why he stepped in and was very protective. I'll take her to school. I'll watch her. I'm going to make sure that, he is like, no, psychiatrist in that time. He was like, I don't want you seeing a psychiatrist either. They're going to try to take you away or put you
medicate you or something.
Or do something. Yeah. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. And so it was like, okay. So he really, and he was there until about high school. He had a couple of strokes and he lived with us. I was the only one who could get him to eat and to interact with him. He was, he was there in his mind, but it was just really quiet and non-responsive. The strokes had an effect on his physical body. So my mom would always like be in my room, and she was like, come, your grandfather, he won't eat for me. And I'm like, you're tense, you're stressed. And you sit in front of him. I wouldn't want to eat in front of you either. Of course, I couldn't keep my mouth shut with my mom,
Oh my goodness. I was going to say, oh Lord, what a relationship you had, huh?
I know. So I would go feed him. I'm like, I'm sorry. You want a donut, Grandpa? And so, because that was one of the things always take me. You get upset, come on, let's go get a donut.
Yeah.
So that was great until he did finally. He had one more stroke that just almost left him in a vegetative state, and so then it just required a lot of care. But I would always let him know I was there and loved him, and so, but it was very hard process, with that. But to back up a little bit, when I was 10 and she was got that first diagnosis of cancer, it was breast cancer, and she was, oh my gosh, that's it, I'm dying. And I'm like, you're not dying now, it's not your time. But she was to the point of, I'm packing everything up. So I'm packing this up. I want you, brother, to have this. I want you to have this. And I'm putting notes in everything. And it's like, would you please stop? You're freaking the family out. And I was like, it's not your time. And she goes, how do you know? You don't know that. Only God knows that. And I was like, well, there's some angels standing right here, and they're validating. It's not your time right now. You've got more to do. I was like, so take it up with them,
Oh my God. She didn't know what to do with you, I bet.
She did not know what to do. And so it was like, okay. And then it was, everything that happened I didn't really know what happened with my dad and mom. All of a sudden, that whole family aspect. And then I know she had dated a couple of times. I would always try to sabotage those relationships because I was so bad. But I could this guy's not good for you. Are you kidding me? But then my bonus dad came when they were dating. I was like, he seems like a good guy. But that trust, right? But then one time I was walking past their bedroom door, and I heard them talking, and her, about the cancer and everything and kids. And she's like, what happens if I die, with kids and stuff? And he was like, I love you. I'm going to be with you no matter what. And I will adopt those kids. I was like, wow, he's a keeper. I'm like, I'm going to ease up on him and be nice now. I was like, he goes, we're going to go through this together. And I was crying because it was so beautiful and touched my heart. And I was like, yeah. And so I'm like, yes. So she passed her 14-year mark, just growing up, everything, my brother had graduated high school in 90. And that was when she had got, I think I skipped something. I'm sorry. Let me go back here. In 88, she had a second reoccurrence lymph nodes underneath one of her arms. That was taken care of. Everything was fine. But a year later, it came back. She found out Christmas of 89, right before Christmas of 89, that it came back in the bones. And she told us around holiday time, and that this will be my last. She knew, and I knew. And the way she just looked at me, and I didn't rebut anything. And I just was like, it's time now. And so, but she was able to hang in there. So see my brother graduate high school and in October of 90. Well, she was able to see him graduate from high school, see me married, and then she crossed over in October. I found out, I was in my first trimester, I found out I was pregnant with the first grandchild. So she was in and out of her mind at that time, in and out of her body, I should say. And I would go to the hospital every day and sit with her, and we would have great conversations sometimes, but then she would slip. And one time I was feeding her, and I saw the light back in her eyes, and she's like, what are you doing? Stop feeding me. I can feed myself. And I'm just like, okay, Mom. And then she was like, oh my gosh, you're pregnant. I won't be here to see the kid. I was like, you're going to go spend some time with this baby before the baby comes in. So yeah, you get to do something special, And, I was like, so there you go. Everything's gonna be fine. So she was fighting. She was like, I'm trying to fight to stay. And I was like, but I don't want you to be in pain. That's not a way to live either. And it's in your bones. There isn't right now, And so I'm glad I did that. I mean, I had a very sick first trimester. I was running to the hospital, throwing up, and then sitting with my mom. I mean, the nurses were even concerned. They were like, "We need you to stay calm, and for the baby, please," and all of this. And it was just like, "I'm fine," you know. And so it was just also everything happened the way that it was supposed to for her, even though she probably wanted to renegotiate her contract at that time. But when we got the call and we showed up, and my bonus dad, my dad comes running out of the room, and he was like, "You've got to look at her. Look at her. She has a smile on her face. She crossed over in her sleep the night before."
Yeah.
And we all got the call. And so I went in there with my dad and my bonus dad, and she had a smile on her face. And I was like, "See?" And we said, "See, but that's fine." And that, for him and I, just, it was what we needed. We really did. And I'm like, "Okay, great." So I don't know how much he knew about my abilities or anything like that at that time. We really just didn't talk about it. He was a very quiet man. He didn't talk too much, period. But he did say that, because I was like, wow, the timing and everything. And then when my son, when my son was born, I was like, the timing. And he goes, "You know what, though? Everything works out great." He goes, "Because this child's giving me a reason to stay here." And I'm like, "Oh," and the same with, and then, but my sons are 15 months apart. So, and they were his boys. I mean, they absolutely, he had wrote a note after my mom died, and my mom crossed over or transitioned, went to a different plane. When he wrote a note to my eldest son, and he stuck it. It was what they used to do is to get the newspaper the day somebody's born or something happens, right? And save that newspaper. This is what happened the day you were born. So he did that for our eldest son. Well, we didn't know he stuck a note in there. Then he wraps it with saran wrap, and he gives it to us, and he goes, "Put this aside." And so we did, and it was like, "Oh, okay, that's great." And he had a clean bill of health, and him crossing over, getting word of his death hit me harder than my mom. I guess maybe when someone is sick, there's that process. But I talked to him every week. At one point, we had moved to Georgia because my husband was active duty military, he was in the Navy. So we moved out of Virginia because we had lived together for a while. After my mom died, we all lived together, and that was great. And I was concerned about leaving when my husband got transfer papers. It was like, I'm going to leave my dad. And my husband's just like, you're married. You have your own family. Parents expect their kids to leave. And I'm like, I know, but I'm concerned about my dad.
Right.
And he wouldn't move down. He goes, "No, Georgia's too hot. I'm not moving down there." So, he wouldn't come with us. So I was like, all right, that's fine. So 4 years later, like in 2004, we had my half brothers and sisters, God love them, couldn't remember my phone number. So they sent sheriff's department to our front door at 11 o'clock at night to deliver the message about our dad. And I was like, that was scary. First off, to have cops knocking on your door at 11 o'clock at night, you don't expect it. My husband was out to sea, by the way. So, and the sheriff, he comes in and he was like, I have this message. And I'm like, okay, the boys here, they get out of bed. They were young. And so I knew immediately when I had to call my half brother, my older half brother, because I knew he was the one. He talked to, and that was going to be the executor and take care of everything. So I knew that when to call him that something had happened. And so it was a process. But we got orders to move here. I'm going to tell you why I'm telling this story this way. In 2005, we got orders to Connecticut. So we came and we moved here, and it was unpacking, and we were setting everything up and we always homeschooled. So our dining room, we didn't have a dining room. Our dining room became the office, and the homeschool became the schoolroom. And I have this huge executive desk to this day that we homeschooled on, or homeschooled with. Anyway, so the point is that we were setting up the office, and we find this newspaper that Dad had wrapped up for my oldest son, Brian. And so Brian opens it, and he's like, "Look, there's a letter inside." What? And so he's reading it, and we're just both in tears at that time. And it was so profound. We didn't even know he wrote a note until after. And it was just so beautiful. And he was one of the first, other than my grandparents. He came to me pretty quick. My dad did, my bonus dad. And so beautiful. And to this day, both my parents, they still come to me, all my parents, my biological dad. And as a matter of fact, my bonus dad told me to get in touch with my biological dad, put away any anger, mend those fences, because his time's limited too.
Uh-huh.
Wow. And so we did. And in 2008, he had crossed over. But he had made himself sick too with the form of cancer. So this is the illusion that you think everything's fine because you're moving on. Mm-hmm. He remarried. He was on his fourth marriage.
Oh, your dad, yeah.
My biological dad was on his fourth marriage. But she was a keeper. She's my bonus mom. I'll call her my bonus mom. She's a sweetheart. And so when you bury something that's upsetting and throws you off balance, it's still in your body. Mm-hmm. I believe that's the true Pandora's box. When we are storing stuff that is toxic for us in our own bodies, acid hurts the container more than anything else, right? And when we activate dis-ease with anger, with depression, with any off-balancing emotion or way of being, you can turn that around, but you have to catch it early. Mm-hmm. And in extreme cases, if it's just not your time either to cross over, if your mission's not complete, it's miracle status, but they work for that too. They really work hard to balance themselves, mind, body, and soul all across the board. All right. And that's how the miraculous healings come in, is because they're not playing around, and they really want to heal themselves. So you can heal yourself, but we need to always make sure that we are checking ourselves on a daily basis. Mind, body.
How do you keep your energy clear for those who are like concerned, like, oh, my thoughts and emotions are affecting me? How do we keep our aura clear? How do we keep our energy field clear?
Well, whether you can see your aura or not, this is the most powerful thing ever. Is just, I like to take, it doesn't matter which hand, you use first. You take your left hand or your right hand, just right over the sacred heart center right here, and feel the power, feel that heartbeat. Take deep breaths, and this is the key. Take really deep breaths in and release, connecting with the sacred heart center right here. You feel that heartbeat, you're alive. Take deep breaths and then connect with the heartbeat of Source, which is the cosmic heart. Mm-hmm. Connect with the cosmic heart. That heart of God, the Source, I just call it Source. All right. And when you do that, feel it just wash over you completely. Now you let it wash over you. Doesn't matter if it's from head to toe. If you have very yang energy, it's going to come first from the top. All right. And then go down. If you have very yin energy, it's going to come from your feet up.
So can you explain the difference between yin and yang for those who don't know?
Yep. So yang is very masculine. And I find most men like to start in the stars and pull the energy down through the crown, down into the earth. Many women, and yin is very feminine. And if you're an earth guardian or you really love this earth and you work with Mother Earth and nature, we're going to pull it from the earth up through our feet and up and out. But it's a continuous loop. All right. It's not in a straight line. It's like a figure eight.
Right.
All right. So feel that just being bathed, you're being bathed in light. And if you see different colors flashing, that's great. And then take this light, hold it right here in the Sacred Heart Center for a moment, and blast it out in all directions, cleansing your aura. That's a very fast, quick, effective way to cleanse your aura. The intention when this happens is I am cleansing my body, my aura, my energy field of anything that's not for my highest and greatest, releasing it all, releasing everything that's not yours. And that's also not for your highest and greatest. Anything that throws you off balance. And that blast of light, it's just cleansing everything. And as it's pushing things out, now it's going to leave holes of where something removed. And you're going to pack that full of love, do another blast that's going to seal those holes, seal anything, whether they're rips, cracks, holes, whatever. What was removed, all right, is being replaced now with love, with nuggets of love. Whatever, have fun with it, but just, you have to visualize this. And so, and then as you feel it, and then you'll get to the point you do it enough that you really do feel it, see it, and everything all at once. Okay.
Now, do you do energy healings with people to do that, to help them?
Yes. Yeah, I do. As a matter, and here's the thing is when you are doing that and I'm in your presence, I'm triggering your soul and your energy pretty much. Let's do a check. And then it can just be as simple as, all right, let's go for you too as healers. I'm going to make that simple intention for you too, to clear everything from your energy field. I'm constantly scanning the 12 chakras because I see the chakras and I see the energy. So as I'm running through, I'm not going to leave somebody. And this is though free will. The intention of, if you want that intention of releasing, let's release right now and let it go. If they want to hold on to it, all I can do is just give a gentle wash, but letting go is up to that person. All right. This is how sometimes people feel like healings don't work. Well, did you do your part? Right.
And I've had where I've heard that people, different people, a friend of mine told me that she was going to be leaving. And so, her spirit had come to me and said she was going to be leaving. I think that took maybe a couple of years, and she died in February. So can you tell the listening audience about how that works, where the soul is already agreed before people make their transition? Can you explain that, or do you have an understanding of that?
Yeah, sure. So we do come in with the mission and with the soul agreement, and the things that we want to accomplish in the lifetime. And we know. Now, here's the interesting thing is that we have, and this number can vary, but it's usually 5 to 6 exit points, which means we have 5 or 6 options to leave. And they can be very subtle, that we don't even pay attention, and they can be major, considered as NDEs, near-death experiences. All right? You survive it, you chose not to leave. That was one of your exit points. But the final one, we can't negotiate. We have to. This is our time now. All right. And so and like I said, there's just so many of them, and little subtle ones. All right. Is where you can change your mind. Say you're driving and you go the same path every day. You change your mind and go a different route. May had just avoided something. All right. My youngest son, when he was born, stopped breathing.
Oh my goodness.
He turned blue. The nurse took him out of my husband's arms and ran down the hospital when we were still in the hospital after giving birth to him. And later that night, when the nurse, one of the nurses, a male young nurse, maybe he was the helper, he comes back in and brings my son to me, and he goes, "This little guy had us worried. We thought he was a goner." And he looks at me and he goes, "Uh-oh, I don't think I should have said that." And I was like, "No, I needed to hear that. Thank you." I was like, "It's okay. I'm not going to say anything to anybody. I'm not going to tell on you that you said that." And I just held him, and I was like, "Thank you for staying," because I knew he had a choice. And to this day, every time I'll hug him sometimes, and I'll be like, "I'm so glad you stayed with us." He's like, "Stop it," you know.
Right. Yeah.
But that too, think about that. We can probably identify some of those exit points that we said no. I had an interesting one, but I don't want to go into it. It was an experience, an out-of-body experience I had at a dentist office of all places. But when people know it's their time, now with your friend, they will start making preparations. Even with my dad, and I didn't see it right away, my bonus dad, a year before he crossed over, he loved bowling. "I'm going to stop bowling now." And I thought, what? He's bowled forever. As long as, I'm like, "You always went bowling. You were such a dedicated bowler. Is your hands hurting now? Knuckles, that kind of thing." "No, I just feel it's time to stop." The signs are always there. We refuse to see them. And I knew afterwards I was in denial. I didn't want to believe that. But all the signs then, recall those signs and going, yeah, he did. And the way that and this is why he was telling me, "You had to deal with your mom. I'm not going to have you do with me either." Even though I know you'd be fair with the half brothers and sisters, because I'm going to make your half brother, the executor and handle everything. And I was like, "Okay, Dad." And I understand that. That's fine. It should be his only male son, right? Other than, he adopted my younger brother. But I was like, no, I totally agree with that. But then there was other signs. He started bringing us stuff. "I want the boys to have this." Oh, okay. Again, it wasn't all like at one time. It was spread out over a year's time. Certain things started happening. So they do know. And when he's come back, and we've had great conversations, and he did say yes, he did know. And I'm like, okay, all right. And everything happened just fine. I had gone through guilt I wasn't there when he crossed over. As a matter of fact, his body, no one found his body for like 3-4 days later. A friend came over to check on him, and they had to, when the cops were called, they had to use they couldn't really even identify him, even with his ID. This is how long he was left without anyone. Do you know that really got to me? Because I was like, if we were there, there's no way in the world it would go that long.
Yeah.
And he would come to me, and he was like, "You need to stop." He goes, "There's no way I would want you or those boys, my sons, to find me like that." And he goes, "Or any of the kids." He's like, "It's being protective of all of you. It's okay." And so that helped me, because we got to be careful with that. Guilt is terrible. So don't ever feel guilty if you can't be there for a loved one, whether it's a parent or a sibling or even a friend, right? A close friend. But yeah, I do believe they know, and they'll give you signs, and some of them are at complete peace with it by the time that happens. Was she at peace?
Well, she had told me she was ready to leave her body. She had told me that in July before she died. And, she had said, "Lea, I can't wait to get out of my body."
Yeah.
So, and I had talked to her, a week before she had passed. But I just thought it was interesting. She came, her higher self or whoever it was, came to tell me, in advance, that she was leaving. Because she'd been a good friend of mine for, since 1984. She was my spiritual advisor, teacher, that had helped awaken me. So, we communicated telepathically.
Did you know the moment she crossed over?
No, but she came to me the next day, and I saw her above my TV. I saw her image. I knew that was her because it looked like her hair, which was interesting. So, and then, so I haven't heard from her since. Yeah, I just saw, her.
All right. She's ascended quickly. I mean, she's working big time, but she. My dog's validating that. Sorry about that. That's a dog. My dog is scared. Okay. Somebody's at the door. All right. So that's great. Even those that ascend really quick, they go right back to, they go to work, but they feel so free because it's so heavy. But it is getting lighter now in this ascension process. But she still comes around you. She gives you little nuggets, little tidbits, even if it's just this beautiful blast of love.
Oh.
And but she told you because in a way you helped her, whether you can remember or not. You did help her cross over. So just by being there for her, you gave her that energetic support.
Oh, just by being her friend, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Just by having that connection.
Yeah, she was my teacher, and then sort of the roles reversed. Then I grew and sort of
I love that.
kind of grew past her in a sense. At least on whatever level. And then she'd ask me questions. And it always seemed sort of strange because, in the early days, I knew nothing. But, that's nice. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
And then when people are ready to cross over, like, my dad is trying to cross over, and he's, can you share with others about how, I feel like he's not in his body, and he's also hallucinating, where we call it hallucinating, and seeing things that are not there. Can you share with others so they might have an understanding of what happens at the end of life for some folks?
Yeah, that will happen. They will be in and out of their bodies. That's what happens with a lot of Alzheimer's. They will leave their bodies a lot. They're not going to stay. We every one of us, we leave our bodies every night. Our soul can't stay in our bodies confined. So we astral travel. We leave astral projection. So just in the astral plane, we do leave our bodies. But for those that they know that they are going to, that it's time to leave, so to speak, the physical body. They start going out. Now, it's not terrible. It's a beautiful thing, because if you think it's beautiful, let's flip this around here. Souls do that before they come in. Mm-hmm. My oldest Brian hung out beside me and told me, this is what I want my name. This is how you're going to spell. We'd have conversations before he plugged in, his soul plugged in to his body and my belly. Yeah. Kids do that. You can have conversations before they even come in. So absolutely, we can have these, we can have conversations with others. So somebody might start talking about, there's a relative that's crossed over. I'm having a conversation with them now. Mm-hmm. Okay. The fact that for them, the veil is very thin, or that their intuition now, they have increased. It's all part of their ascension process. Things are dropping off. The heaviness of the 3D is dropping off for them, and they are ascending, and they feel it, and it is exciting. And as long as there isn't any heaviness to hold them here, a family dispute, a family feud, all that kind of stuff can prevent people from, let me say, transitioning easily and quickly. because when it's your time, it's your time. But it's all, and we would want our loved ones to just try to cross over as much peace as possible. All right. Not be bickering or have, that person that's crossing over feel like there's unfinished business because the adults around them can't take care of themselves. I mean, that kind of thing. They'll hold on. Or in some cases, if they're very, say they are not spiritual, they're very material and they want to hold on to something materialistic. That's happened too. They'll want to hold on to, no, this is all mine. I don't want my greedy family to get this, So I mean, it's all different types of whether they want to hold on or let go, but they still are going to let go. I would choose the peaceful way. It makes it easier. But right now, during this ascension process, everyone's crossing over faster, easier. The transition is much smoother. All right, it really is. And so when I ask, because we truly are multidimensional in the ascension process, the third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and I've asked where we are, and this was the heaviness that Reverend Lea and myself were feeling weeks ago, is we have moved more into the fourth dimension. What's that fourth dimension? We call fourth dimension heaven. So there's a heaviness when we are moving. We're moving up now. It used to be, they were telling me, by certain degrees, a 2 degree, 3 degrees at a time in the ascension process. Now it's going much faster. We're getting the more degrees, it's increasing. So whoa, what's happening? We're really feeling it. And it can throw us off balance too, when we feel we're in a frequency we're not used to. All right. And so these are the things to look to, or maybe validation of that we're in that fourth dimension, whether it's the veil is dropping, we're seeing more, we're experiencing more, our God-given blueprint and gifts of intuition is clicking in now. People are hearing and seeing and experiencing things maybe they didn't used to before. You're going to see lights, peripheral vision going off. Lights, movement. You're going to see more spirit, whether it's animals or people, our loved ones. So don't let that scare you. All right. And what also happens in the fourth dimension in heaven is a life review. This happened to me last week. I literally had a life review in front of my face. I was awake. Gosh.
Wow.
And what's different between a life review and memories? Memories pop up. They're supposed to help you heal too. If it's a memory that's kind of agitates you, that's meant to heal and let go, resolve, release and resolve. But this was really it does look like a movie reel, the film, the movie reel going chunks at a time. It wasn't my whole life. It was like a chunk for minutes. Then it would stop. Minutes later, another chunk. Minutes later, and it's like 3 or 4 times I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a life review, isn't it? And I was like, I literally sat down and asked my angels, am I crossing over now? And
it just happened? Spontaneously.
Last week, and I'm like, am I crossing over?
Excuse me.
Bless you. And they were like, no. We're more now into the fourth dimension. And what happens in the fourth dimension? And I was like, they're like, life review. We are judgment day. There's no judgment. It's a life review. We observe everything we've done because we came in with the checklist. Did I do that? Check. Yes. I got all that done that I set out to do. That's what the life review is making sure, okay, there's no judgment. It's just an observation, and it's us doing it, not God, not source. It's us. And I'm like, oh, wow. I got to share this with them. They're like, yeah, share, because a lot of people may not realize what's happening, but we have moved more into that heaven area. And is woo. So there you go.
Well, we just talked about that this morning on my Mary Magdalene. Every Monday morning, I channel Joshua and Mary Magdalene's message. And they talked about heaven on earth today and how we have moved into this grid with the Cosmic Mother, and that the energy of the Cosmic Mother is stronger now, and that it's gridding us into this new Earth grid that's over our planet. I think I sent you that recording from last week.
Yeah.
And so they were talking about the Cosmic Mother anchoring our energies, and they were talking about this, which is interesting. You're talking about this morning. It'll be on my YouTube channel if you Google Lea Chapin YouTube, or my Facebook if you're a subscriber. It'll be in written transcript. But they were talking about how you're going to be awakening more, and that you're going to have that full sensory perception, and that you may feel like you're in connection to oneness with all things. People may feel like they're, maybe took LSD or something like that, where they're like experiencing this oneness, like they're experiencing the oneness with the grass and the trees, and that there's no separation. So that the energy of the Cosmic Mother is helping universally at this time for people to merge into unity, conscious, and oneness. And I thought, oh, how beautiful, because I had that visual of just the Divine Mother just cradling us and nurturing us and supporting us, during this ascension process as we now begin to shift and balance so that we can come back into sacred union. So that's interesting. You're talking about that.
Yeah. So that's great though. It's validations all across the board, and I'm hearing other spiritual teachers and awakeners saying the same thing. I love to listen to other people, and it's like, we might not use the same verbiage, but it's the same message. It comes through. And it's just like, wow, we are really on the right path. We're on the right track, and it is picking up in speed. It is increasing. Mother Earth is much higher ascended than we are. And that's why the cosmic, she's helping us, too. She's excited, and just embrace that, embrace nature. We truly are all connected. And this is what we're here for, to bring peace back on this earth plane, and to live in peace and harmony in the fifth dimension and higher. Again, so because Earth originally started off as a fifth dimensional planet.
And I believe that we can live in divine perfection, that we had lived that way before during Atlantis and Lemuria. So as you're talking about, today we're talking about energetic frequencies and keeping our energy pure. We can begin to have mastery over ourselves. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's I know that it's close. When I was asking about when do we return back into the state of peace, and they were, okay, so I first heard like 2040. And so it's funny because, and what triggered it really was just hearing a commercial or something about by year 2050, we plan to do this. And this was years ago. And I was like, wow, okay. So will peace ever come back? And when? 2040. And then it's keeps being shaved off. Then it was 2032 right now. Our last year's 2032. And other and I had read that from Diana Cooper, Tim Wilde. There's a couple of other spiritual teachers out there that said 2032. Well, checking in recently, I hear we're ascending so fast. Keep shining bright that it'd be 2030. We're shaving the years off. So keep going, and more and more people are waking up. More and more lights are going off, and so it's beautiful. It's a beautiful time to be alive. Please look. You have to understand that. Remind yourself, because we still got to get through the rest of 2020. But know that behind the chaos is rebirth. The old has to. It's imploding on itself. It has to die. The old structures, they are crumbling. They're falling. All right. And all of this and it needs to happen so that the third dimension can completely just dissolve off this earth plane once and for all.
And tell us, we just have a couple minutes left, but tell us about the master classes and what Goldylocks Production is going to be doing in September.
Yes. Thank you for that. This is something new. We're starting in September, which September is with tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we are launching 2 new things. Actually, it's called master classes is the first thing, and we're giving all of the show hosts, actually the professionals, because every show host on Goldylocks Productions, and I'm going to brag, yes, are holistic professionals. All right, and they have great teachings, and so we want to bring forth some classes in a classroom, a virtual classroom setting. And so the very first person who has her classes set up, if you go to the website there, I'll just share it on here too. Oh, that's Amy came in. Hi, Amy. You're excited about the classes. Thank you. All right. So here it is. You go to Goldylocks Productions, CT.com, master classes. And right now, the classes that are ready to go are from Carol Ann Carey. She's teaching mediumship. So if anyone's interested in that, they can, sign up. Her first class starts this Saturday, the 5th. So, sign up for her classes, and it's going to be virtual. You'll come in pretty much like this setting. She'll be teaching, instructing. Everyone who signs up, they will get a private link, all right, to her class. So it's very interesting. It's very fun. And another thing I want to talk about, because this starts also, is the spiritual message circles. This starts, and by the way, the master classes and these spiritual message circles they don't have an end date. We're just going to run them. All right. Now, these are also, it's like a virtual psychic fair, but it's not. It's different. I'm going to tell you why. Is because we have professionals, and you're going to get messages on these particular days. We have them set for like 2 Saturdays a month, starting in September. Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time. The difference is that everyone who wants to have a reading, they're going to be in 15-minute increments. All right. You come in right here. You're going to come live with at least 5 of our Goldylocks Productions show hosts / professionals and get your reading or message. It's going to be everyone on the panel is going to give you a short message, but so insight. It could be guidance. It could just be insight. It could just, you're going to get a variety of things. And I don't see this being done right now. Not going with. From anyone else, it's usually virtual psychic fairs is you have a reading with this one psychic, right? Or this one specialist. But here, we're going to get the whole panel, at least 5. It could be more. All right. And so they're being sold in 15-minute increments. If you want a half hour, you can do that too. So that is on, on the website as well under spiritual message circles. So I would hop onto that. There's only 2 in September 12th and then the 26th. And this is, again, at 8 p.m. Yeah. So you want to make sure you reserve your spot. Most definitely. And if these go really fast, know that even if you buy a time, you will get in there. We'll just let you know what date it will be. But you will come on with us, and you will have to just agree to be on live because it's recorded, obviously, So, so we're excited about all.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Changes. Yeah.
Yeah, some creative ideas. Well, we just have a minute left. I want to thank you for being on. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom and all your knowledge about energetics and how it's connected to our health. And again, just being you and your bright light that you're serving and all your wisdom. I love listening to you because you have so much knowledge. So thank you for being on again this week. It was a privilege to be able to have you as my guest. And so we'll see you next week, and have a great week, Tiffany. So thank you, my dear. You're a blessing. So
thank you.
Everybody have namaste, everybody.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Many blessings. Take
Many
care.
blessings. Bye-bye.
Become a Goldylocks Productions VIP patron. Receive exclusive access to live stream special and other epic perks. Join the Goldylocks Productions VIP community today.